we're continuing with the 12th chapter of Many Waters by Madeleine L'Engle. Sandy, Denny's, and Yolith have left the tent, and it is time for the Nephilim to spring their trap. The little mammoth woke with a jerk from a dream of being beaten by Tiglath's brother, nudged Sella, who nudged Higgaion, who reached toward the twins and felt only sleeping skins. Snorting in alarm, he padded across the tent toward Yolith's sleeping skins. She too was gone. He glanced toward Noah and Matred, both sleeping quietly. Sella trumpeted softly, so that only the mammoth heard, and pointed her trunk toward Higgaion's ear. The scarab beetle was there, a small, bright jewel against the gray ear flap. "What should we do?" Higgaion's eyes queried, cocked his head as though listening. Then he gestured to the other two mammoths with his trunk, and they followed him as he hurried out of the tent and ran toward the desert. The twins were nearly surrounded before they realized what was happening. The circle of Nephilim was closing in on them slowly, deliberately. The sharp odor of stone and cold filled their nostrils. Sandy felt as though a hand was pressing hard on his chest. He shouted at Denny's, "Quick!" and flung himself out of the not-quite-closed circle. Denny's followed, pushing through purple-dark wings that nearly stifled him. "Run!" The twins' reflexes were swift, but the Nephilim were swifter. Again the circle started to form around them, and it was as though the breath was being squeezed out of them. Sandy ran head down like a battering ram between Rofocale and Uguil. Denny's rammed Eblis. But the twins were only two. The Nephilim were many, and sure enough of their powers to proceed with deliberation. Without haste. In their rush to get free of the circle, the twins had run in the opposite direction from the oasis. Now they were too far away to think of making a dash back to Noah's tent-hold. The circle of Nephilim drew closer. Yolith saw. "Ariel!" she screamed. "Ariel!" The golden lion bounded across the sand, past Yolith, until it was between two of the Nephilim, keeping the circle from closing completely. Came a strange pounding, and then Admail the camel galloped white as moonlight across the desert, inserting himself into the circle. A flutter of wings overhead became visible as a pelican, diving down, broke the circle again, and three small gray bodies hurtled into the circle, blowing sand and water into the faces of the Nephilim, who burst out of their formation in a rush of brilliant wings. The lion, camel, pelican, with an upward leaping of light, became the radiant beauty of seraphim. Sandy and Denny's ran to them, ran faster than they'd ever run before. Allarid caught Sandy, and Admail held Denny's. The Nephilim sprang angrily into the sky, saw Yolith. "Her!" Eblis cried. "I want her!" But Ariel reached her before the Nephil. Swift as Eblis was, the seraph was swifter. He enfolded Yolith in gilded wings. The three mammoths, trumpeting joyfully, bounded around them. Bronze flashed against Higgaion's ear, and then Admiral stood before them. "Go!" he commanded the Nephilim in a bulging voice. "You have no right to take them from us," Nama said. "You have no right to them whatsoever." Admiral was fierce. "Go!" From the four corners of the desert, the other seraphim came to stand, with Admiral, Allarid, Admail, and Ariel. Then Ertriel, whose host was the rat, whined, "Tell us what is about to happen." "Do you not know?" Allarid asked. "I assume," Uguil hissed, "that since Noah is building a boat, he must be planning to find some water." "Your assumption is correct." Admail had his arm lightly across Denny's shoulder. "And then what?" Nama said. "Rain," Allarid said. "Much rain." The seraph raised his hand skyward, seeming to touch a bright star. A flash of lightning split the sky, bolted to earth with a great crash of thunder. "Now," Allarid ordered the Nephilim. As the Nephilim slipped, one by one, into their animal hosts, Sandy felt a drop of rain. The seraphim gravely led the twins and Yolith deeper into the desert, not explaining where they were going. Sandy started to ask, "Where?" then closed his mouth. When they reached a single monolith of silvery rock, the seraphim encircled it. Ariel drew Yolith into the center of the circle. Admiral took Sandy by the hand, and Admail reached for Denny's, so that they were part of the circle around the monolith. Ariel and Yolith, who looked at the seraph questioningly, but without fear. Alarid said, Yalith, child, do you know... Yalith, child, you did not know your great-grandfather Enoch. Mutely she shook her head. But you know of him, Ariel said. I know that he did not die like ordinary men. He walked with El, and then according to Grandfather Lamech, he was not. That is, he was not with the people of the oasis. He was with El. With a rush of hope, Sandy remembered his conversation with Noah and Grandfather Lamech, and their recounting of this strange happening. Ariel smiled down at Yalith. El has told us to bring you, and in the same way. She shrank back. I don't understand! Denny's moved as though to go to her, but Higgaion nudged him to stay still. Ariel said, There is no need to understand, little one. I will take you, and it will be all right. Do not fear. She looked very small, very young. She asked timidly, Will it hurt? No, little one. I think you will find it a rapturous experience. She looked up at him trustingly. Enoch, your forebear, will explain everything you need to know. Admiral's fingers held Sandy back. You will tell Noah and Matrid? I will tell them, Sandy said. I think they will be very happy. Denny's, who had not heard the extraordinary story of Enoch, looked confused but hopeful. If Ariel was taking Yalith somewhere, she would not be drowned after all. The seraphim were to be trusted. He was certain of that. Ariel would not take Yalith to the sun, or to the moon, or anywhere that was not possible for her with her human limitations. Ariel said, It is time. Yalith remembered the words Ariel had said to her when she had gone out to the desert in the heat of the day. Many waters cannot quench love, she whispered. Neither can the floods drown it. Oh, twins, dear twins, I love you. Sandy and Denny spoke together, their voices cracking. Yalith! Oh, Yalith, I love you! Will you go back now to where you came from? The twins glanced at each other. We will try, Sandy said. We think the seraphim will help us, Denny's added. If we had been older, Sandy started. Denny's laughed. If we had been older, it would have been complicated, wouldn't it? Yalith too laughed. Oh, I love you both! I love you both! Ariel urged gently. Come, Yalith. I can't say goodbye to my parents, to Japheth, to a holy Bama? It is best this way, Ariel said, without goodbyes, as it was for your forebear Enoch. Yalith nodded, then reached up to Sandy and kissed him on the lips. Then Denny's full, long kisses. Ariel wrapped her in his creamy wings, glittering with gold at their tips. Then he held her only with his arms, lifted and spread his wings, beat with them softly, and then rose into the air, up, up. They watched until all they saw was a speck of light in the sky, as though from a new star. Sandy spoke to Noah. Do you remember the night when you and Grandfather Lamech were talking and I was there? I remember, Noah said. And Grandfather Lamech talked about dying? I remember. And about Grandfather Enoch who walked with El, and then he was not, for El took him? I remember that too. Why? Yalith is not. What are you saying? Noah's eyes widened. Matrid put her hand to her mouth, focusing intently. Sandy continued. Ariel, the seraph who loves Yalith, said that she was to be taken up like her forebear Enoch, and he held her and flew straight up into the sky. We watched. Denny's nodded. A light of great joy came into Noah's eyes. Matrid burst into tears. I felt a drop of rain, Sandy said. Noah turned away. The ark will be finished tomorrow. That night the twins sat outside the big tent, the three mammoths curled up together near them. The rest of the family was within asleep, except for Yalith. Yalith's sleeping skins had been folded and put away. I didn't have a chance to talk with Admiral about getting home, Sandy said, but Yalith is all right. At the moment, that's all that matters. A drop of rain fell on Denny's nose. The rain is beginning. Sandy reached down to pet Higgaion, who was pressing against his feet. What was it that she said about many waters? Many waters cannot quench love. I think that's what she said. Higgaion reached up with his trunk to touch Sandy's arm. It's time for us to be going home, Higgy. I have to speak to Admiral. Higgaion reached with his trunk to touch his ear. The scarab beetle was not there. Another drop of rain fell. It was quiet. It was a quiet, beginning rain, with occasional droplets, no thunder or lightning. Sandy asked the sky. Is God really doing this, causing a flood to wipe everybody out? Denny's raised his face to the sky. The stars were not visible, hidden by thick veils of clouds, but it seemed that he could still hear their chiming, dim but reassuring. Whether there's an earthquake or a terrible fire or a typhoon or whatever, everybody gets it. Good people get killed as well as bad. Sandy was wriggling his toes against Higayon's shaggy gray flank. Well, everybody dies sooner or later. Even stars die, Denny's added. I don't like entropy, Sandy said, the universe winding down. I don't think it's winding down, Denny's contradicted. I think it's still being birthed. Even the flood is part of the birthing. I don't understand, Sandy's voice was flat. Everybody knows the entropy. Everybody doesn't. And entropy is in question. Anyhow, remember, we had that in science last year. There's no such thing as an unbreakable scientific rule, because sooner or later they all seem to get broken or to change. Grandfather Lamech said that these are the last days. The occasional slow drops of rain made Sandy on edge and argumentative. Another splash of rain touched Denny's face, muting the stars. There have been many times of last days, he said, and they mark not only endings, but beginnings. Is there a pattern to it all, Sandy demanded, or is it all chaos and chance? What do you think? Denny's asked. Sella had come to lie beside Higayon, and Sandy reached to scratch her with the toes of his other foot. Did we come here to Yaleth, to Noah, by chance? Denny's wiped his face with the palm of his hand. No, I don't think so, Sandy said. The ark is finished. Yaleth is with Grandfather Enoch, and perhaps with Grandfather Lamech. What was it Grandfather said? We know little about such things. There was a radiance in the air, and Admiral stood before them. Oh, Admiral, Sandy leapt up. I need to talk to you about particle physics and quantum leaps. Admiral sat beside them, listening. So, Sandy concluded, if you could go to our own time and place and call the unicorns to you there, you could tesser us home. It does not sound impossible, Admiral said. It is consistent with our knowledge of energy and matter. I will talk with the other seraphim. As he turned to go, he said, do not stray far from the tent. The Nephilim, Denny's agreed. Then in a louder voice, we will not stray. It's just that somehow we are not sleepy. Admiral paused. Your love for Yaleth and hers for you is, and therefore it will always be. And then he was gone. And we'll pause there.